Hey friends, welcome back to the Healthy Balance Mama podcast. Kristen here. Today I have an extra special bonus episode for you. This is the audio that I stripped from a Facebook Live I did earlier this week, talking about 8 of my top meal prep hacks. Many of you know that I've been talking about meal prep for years and years, and I talk about meal prep in a little bit of a different way than a lot of the meal prep experts out there. I do have the background of being a former personal chef as well as just a busy mama of 2, but I'm not the expert that's going to tell you that there is a one-size-fits-all way to meal prep, just like I tell you that there is no one-size-fits-all way for nutrition. So today I want to share with you some of my best hacks for efficient meal prep and how to prep in a way that works for your unique family. So I hope you enjoy this bonus recording, and if you want to dig more into how to meal prep in a way that works for you and your unique family, I would love to have you in Healthy Mama Meal Prep. Healthy Mama Meal Prep is my best-selling course. It's been around for 3 years, and it is newly revamped and 100% updated and expanded with a whole new module on cooking basics. So you can learn the skills you need to meal prep like a pro. Things like knife skills, how to cut an onion without crying all day long, how to chop herbs, how to steam, how to saute, how to blanch, the different ways, the different cooking methods, how to season food, how to mix flavors to create really delicious dishes right from the comfort of your own home. So if you head to healthymamachris.com/meal prep, you can use the code PREP20 to get 20% off between now and the end of the month. That's October 31st, 2020 at healthymamachris.com/meal prep. All right, friends, let's jump into this bonus episode. All right, we've got a few people on, so I'm going to go ahead and get started because it's just past 3 and I want to honor all of your time. So welcome everyone. For those of you who don't know who I am yet, my name is Kristin Dovbniak. I'm a holistic health coach, a trained chef, and a mama of 2. And I have, like I said, if you were here right at the beginning when I first hopped on, I've been talking about meal prep for almost a decade now. So my story is that about 8 years ago, I was working as a personal chef, a natural foods personal chef in a big city. I had just graduated from culinary school about a year and a half prior, and I just started my business. I was young. I was 23. My husband and I were pretty newly married, and I had a background in nutrition. I went to school for nutrition, and I went to culinary school with these big dreams of being able to teach people and cook for people how to cook and eat really delicious food that was also healthy and was going to nourish them and their family. And I was teaching cooking classes on the weekend and doing catering and working as a personal chef. And I was working 10 to 12-hour days prepping these really delicious and healthy meals for these families. And I would commute in and out of the city for an hour, sometimes up to 2 hours every single day because we lived just outside of the city. And I would fill their fridge and their freezer with all of these delicious foods. Meanwhile, I was living off of coffee, eating takeout 3, 4, sometimes 5 times a week. My husband just left with my kiddos, but he is usually behind me nodding. Like we knew the, local takeout places. They knew us by name. They knew our order because I was prepping for other people and putting meals in other people's fridge and freezer to make their life easier. Well, meanwhile, I was living off of coffee and basically all day long just eating, like snacking on the things that I was making for them, kind of tasting food, not eating real meals. Maybe I'd have breakfast, I'd grab a smoothie before I went out the door, but I would come home at the end of a 10 or 12-hour day and I'd just be exhausted. And I didn't have any time to cook for myself or my husband. And I was just not feeling great. I gained a bunch of weight because of stress and because I just wasn't taking care of myself. My digestion was out of whack. My hormones were terrible. And we wanted to start a family. And I knew that something had to change. With my background in nutrition, I knew the things I needed to do in order to treat my body well and get meals on the table for my family. I had a culinary degree, for goodness sakes. I had the skills to get meals on the table, but I wasn't doing it. And I couldn't figure out why. I was just so tired at the end of the day, probably because I wasn't feeding myself well, and why I just couldn't get dinners on the table. And that's when I realized that I could just start to meal prep for myself. Now, listen, here's what I didn't do. Oh, there are a lot of experts out there that will tell you that there is one way to meal prep, and that, everyone has their one way to meal prep that they think is the absolute best way to meal prep. And what I didn't do was prep all of my meals ahead of time for myself and my husband, because I didn't have time for that. And as much as I love to cook and as much as I like to cook for my clients, I didn't want to spend 5-6 hours on the weekend getting dinners on the table, or just getting all of the foods prepped so dinner would happen that fast during the week. I just wanted to make things easier. I didn't need to do a full personal chef for myself, but I did need to find solutions to get dinner on the table quicker. So I didn't go, oh, I'm just going to personal chef for myself and then take up an entire day of my weekend, because that wasn't the type of life I wanted to live. I learned simple strategies to be able to prep ahead so that I could get meals on the table easily. And what has happened over the past 8 years is I've had 2 kids. I started a whole other business. My husband started his own business, and living as 2 busy entrepreneurs, we homeschool our older kiddo and our youngest is in daycare. We live busy lives, and I've needed to learn the strategies to get meals on the table in a way that's simple and doesn't take up my whole weekend. So that's what I want to share with you guys today. I want to share with you guys 8 hacks for more efficient meal prep from what I have learned over the past 8 years. This isn't like one hack a year, but it really is what I've learned over the past 8 years to simplify meal prep and get dinners on the table every single week without spending hours and hours in the kitchen on the weekend, because that's annoying. And I don't want you guys to have to do that. So at the end, I am going to talk to you guys a little bit about my Healthy Mama Meal Prep course, which will bring you into all of these things in a little bit more detail. But we're going to give you some really solid tips even before I get to that. Okay. So let me really briefly, I already kind of went over these, but I want to talk about what I don't mean by meal prep when I talk about meal prep, because this is important, because I think the way that I talk about meal prep is a little different than the way some other people talk about meal prep. So number 1, I don't mean putting all of your meals in tiny Tupperware containers and laying them all out on the table and taking a picture for Instagram. That's not what I mean when I talk about meal prep. In fact, I don't think you need to cook all of your meals ahead of time in order to meal prep in a way that works for you. I talk about 3 different styles of meal prep, and I'll go into that in a little bit, but I am all for you finding a meal prep style that works for you. And if it does work for you to prep all of your meals ahead of time, that's great, but it doesn't work for most busy people who actually want to spend time on the weekend. So there are strategies for you no matter what your lifestyle. So that's what I'm here to share with you guys, okay? I don't think you need to spend hours and hours and hours meal prepping in order to meal prep efficiently and effectively. Actually, it's not efficient if you're spending hours and hours and hours, unless you are cooking every single one of your meals, breakfast, lunch, and dinner. And most importantly, I don't think you need to eat the same meals over and over again in order to meal prep. I love food. I am a huge foodie. I love eating delicious food and healthy food too, but I think that they should be one and the same. I think that all food should be delicious. Healthy food and fun food should all be delicious. And I don't think that you need to feel like you need to eat the same meals over and over again, or your meals need to be boring or have no variety in order to meal prep in a way that works for you. So here's what I do mean about meal prep. Meal prep means bringing more ease, more simplicity, and less stress to your week by prepping ahead so you get meals on the table fast. It means prepping in a way that works for your unique life and your unique family. So I'm going to share how I plan and prep for my family just briefly, because we could be here for an hour if I went through kind of the whole thing, exactly what we do. And I've shared blog posts and things like that about a little bit more about what we do. But I believe that you should find a meal prep style that works for you and your family. And that's what I'm here to teach you, not to tell you that you should prep in the exact same way that I do, but that you should find a way that works for you. And that's what I want to share with you today. And that's what I want to help you start to discover. So let's talk about 8 of my meal prep hacks that are going to help you meal prep with more efficiency. Okay, hack number one, you need to have a plan. I know this seems really simple, but if you don't have any sort of plan, and I've seen this over and over again, you guys, I know it seems like, well, duh, of course you need to have a plan if you're going to prep, but I've seen over and over again women going, okay, so I took time on the weekends and I cooked 2 dozen hard cooked eggs and I shredded up some chicken breast and I cut up a whole bunch of vegetables and a whole bunch of fruit and it all went bad by the end of the week. If you don't have a plan for what you're going to use your prep for, if you just decide to prep the things that you think you need to eat in order to be healthy, it's not going to be effective and it's not actually going to help you get dinner on the table fast unless you're a whiz in the kitchen and you know what to do with those things that you actually prepped. You need to have a plan before you decide what you are going to actually prep. And your plan should be based on your life and what is actually going to help you create more efficiency in the kitchen throughout the week. It's probably going to change week to week based on what works for you that week and what you actually need support in that week. And I talk through the whole process of finding a meal planning style that works for you in Healthy Mama Meal Prep because it is the first step to meal prepping in a way that's efficient and effective, is to learn how to plan in a way that's efficient and effective. And it doesn't have to be hard and it doesn't have to take hours. It only takes me 10 minutes to plan my meals every single week. I promise you, it can be really easy. And then once you're planning based on your schedule, you can go, okay, these are the meals this week that I need the most help, the most support with. And that is where you want to start with your meal prep. This is how we prevent prepping for hours and hours and hours, but still actually help ourselves throughout the whole week. So hack number two, and this is a big one that I see a lot of people skipping, and that is to choose meals when you're planning and or deciding what you're going to prep with similar ingredients. This is going to have your meal prep time, okay? If you are prepping the same ingredients all at once, you're only crying over your onions once during the week instead of 3 times during the week. So if you choose meals with similar ingredients, now this doesn't mean you're choosing similar meals. It means you're choosing meals with similar ingredients so that even if they have similar ingredients, they can be very different meals. They can have very different flavor profiles. I like to use the example of sweet potatoes and black beans. Okay, you can use those for so many different meals in many different ways. So I have a sweet potato black bean cocoa chili on the blog. You can use your sweet potatoes and your black beans for that. You can use your sweet potatoes and your black beans for roasted sweet potato black bean tacos. You can use it for like a balance bowl. You could use the beans one day for like a burrito bowl. You can use the sweet potatoes another day for a bowl with like some shredded chicken and some veggies and some pesto sauce. There's so many ways that you can use those similar ingredients. And I just gave you like a 5-day meal plan right there. Super, super easy. But if you are focusing on choosing recipes that have similar ingredients, your prep is going to take half the amount of time. And this doesn't mean you need to eat the same meals over and over again, or that your meals have to look the same or be the same style. They can have very different flavor profiles, but that week you're using ingredients that are similar for that week, and you can switch it up the next week. This is going to save you so much time. It's all about really learning what recipes are your favorite with the ingredients that are your favorite, and then having a list of those recipes on hand, or I have a recipe binder that I use on hand with different meal categories. So I can choose a couple different recipes with chicken or a couple different recipes with black beans, things like that. This is going to save you so much time in the kitchen. Hack number 3, I've already talked about a little bit, but I'm going to go into a little bit more detail here, but that is to decide your meal prep style. So when I say a meal prep style, that is the style that works the best for you. So I talk about 3 different meal prep types in Healthy Mama Meal Prep. The first one is ingredient prep. A lot of people on the internet describe this as food prep versus meal prep. Now, I use meal prep as just kind of like the term for all of it. It's not, I don't think that one thing is food prep and one thing is meal prep. I just call it all meal prep. But this is prepping food ahead of time. So prepping ingredients. There's a reason I call it ingredient prep, because you're prepping the ingredients ahead of time to go into your meals, but you're not prepping full meals. This works for people who like to have a lot of variety, to be able to mix and match things throughout the week. And you might want to switch things up on a Tuesday instead of feeling like you have to eat chili on a Tuesday because you already ate or you already made the chili. So for some nights, it might be really helpful to have that chili made ahead of time. And I'll talk about that style of meal prep in just a second. But for a lot of people, just having the ingredients prepped ahead of time is what is going to save you so much time in the kitchen throughout the week. Because what usually takes the longest when we're talking about meal prep and getting meals on the table, breakfast, lunch, and dinner, but dinner especially, is chopping and prepping proteins. And so if you simply prep a couple of those things ahead of time at the beginning of the week, it is going to save you a ton of time during the week. And like I said, if you're prepping using similar ingredients, this is already going to save you a ton of time. So if you're just prepping ingredients, say you get your black beans cooked up and your sweet potatoes chopped, you've got some onions, some carrots, some celery, you've got basically all of your vegetables chopped and maybe your proteins ready to go. You're throwing meals together in 10 or 20 minutes on a Wednesday, on a Thursday, on your busiest nights of the week. The other styles of meal prep are batch cooking, which is when you are cooking all or most of your meals ahead of time. This could just be all of your dinners. It could be breakfast, lunch, and dinner if that's what you need. That's what I used to do for people as a personal chef because most of them are very busy professionals or families, and they just needed the support of having all of their meals ready to go in the fridge. Now, there is some repetitiveness to this most of the time because most of us aren't going to be cooking 21 meals for ourselves, 21 different meals for ourselves on the weekend. So if you're okay with a little bit of repetitiveness and you have a very busy life and maybe you have a long commute, you have a big family, your kids have a lot of activities. I know that's not so much of a thing right now, but if you need it, batch cooking can be really helpful. It does take some time to build up the skills of batch prepping without spending hours and hours and hours because it can take a long time and it certainly does take the longest, but it does help a lot of people. But there are ways to make this more efficient, like utilizing meals with similar ingredients, okay? But that's our second meal prep type. Those are very different, right? You've got your ingredient prep, which is basically the opposite of batch cooking. And then you have your combination prep. And this is a combination of both. And this is what I find works for most women that I work with. And that is that you do one or two items ahead of time that are batch. So this could be something for breakfast, like you could make some overnight oats or a big chia pudding or some egg cups or freezer waffles ahead of time. Smoothie bags, I guess those are ingredients, not the full smoothie. I wouldn't make full smoothies ahead of time. They don't taste so great. But you make the whole thing ahead of time. So it could be breakfast. It could be lunches. I love making something like a chicken salad ahead of time. So I've got that for a few meals during the week, or like a quinoa salad, something like that. Or it could be dinners where you cook a soup or a stew or a chili or something like that ahead of time and then have leftovers for another meal or for lunches. So you can do this in a lot of different ways, but you'd cook one or two batch items because that's going to support you the most that week. This works really well if you have one or two nights during the week that are super busy. You either prep everything ahead to put in the slow cooker or the Instant Pot, or you actually cook that meal ahead and just reheat. Or you can, actually, I guess that's all I wanted to say on that because there's so much more I could go into, you guys. We could be here for 3 hours. That's why I created a whole course on this. We could talk about this for a long time. But the other part of the combination prep is then just getting the rest of the ingredients ready to make the rest of your meals easier. So you do like one or two, a couple different batch items, and the rest of it, you're just getting ingredients ready for the nights where you might have a little bit more time to cook. You might have just a little bit more time to get things done in the kitchen, but you still need a little bit of support, which is true for most of us. If you're here, you probably need a little bit more support in the kitchen, getting dinners on the table. So something like a combination prep can be helpful for those either times of the day or those nights that are the busiest and you need a little bit more support. So you want to make sure you have something batched on hand, but for the rest of it, you just want ingredients. Or maybe ingredients just sound good to you, or maybe you really do need to learn how to batch prep because otherwise you're just not getting meals on the table. What is most important is not that you even know what your style is right off the bat, because if you've never meal prepped before, it's probably going to take you a little bit of time to decide what your meal prep style is, but it is important that you learn which style works the best for you. So this can be trial and error, experimenting, deciding what feels best for you. When you learn your meal prep style, this is what's going to make it most efficient and most effective for you throughout the week. So hack number 4 is to decide how much time you have to prep and plan accordingly. So This is important, okay? Because you don't want to be trying to rush through your prep only to realize that you don't have enough time to actually prep the food ahead of time, and you've planned on like batch cooking 3 things and you only have an hour. Figure out how much time you actually have to prep. And in the course I have a whole a whole lesson on help. I only have an hour. What can I get done on the weekend in an hour? And the first thing I tell you to do is to prioritize. It's to look at your schedule, figure out what meal you need the most support with, and start there and go, okay, this is the meal, or these are the couple of meals I need the most support with, and these are the things that I'm going to do. And I'm going to do it in the time that I have. I truly believe that your meal prep routine should work for you and should really help save your week, not take hours and hours on the weekend. It shouldn't take away from your time. It should add to your time. So yes, you might need to do a little bit of prep ahead of time on the weekend to save you during the week, but it's actually saving you during the week. It's not like you're spending hours on the weekend and then during the week you're still spending hours. If that's happening, then meal prep is not working for you. We need a new solution. So figure out how much time you have to prep and then plan accordingly from there. So figuring out how much time you actually have on the weekend or whenever you're going to prep. It could be Monday, it could be Tuesday, it could be whatever day works for you. Whatever day you're off and you have an hour, it only takes me about 45 minutes to an hour and a half to prep every week, depending on how much I prep, because I do a combination prep and that works for me. But it could take you more or less depending on what you're actually prepping and how much you need. But it's important to know how much time you have and then prioritize and fill your time accordingly, instead of just going, okay, I'm going to block out the entire day. You could if you want to, but we want to live our lives too, right? Prep is supposed to help you with that. So that's number 4, figuring out how much time you actually have to prep and then plan accordingly from there, so you're not feeling rushed. So prep doesn't feel like a really stressful experience. If meal prep feels like something that is really stressful and really hard, you're not going to stick with it. And so it's really important that prep does feel like something that you can actually stick with and do in the long term. As with anything in our health and our wellness, it's really important that we look at the long game and we find a way to make this work for us long term. And so that means figuring out how much time you actually have, being realistic about this, and then planning from there instead of the other way around. So hack number 5, okay? Have a rough plan for your prep. Once you know what you want to prep, you want to start to prep. Listen up, guys. Okay, this is going to change everything. You want to start to prep the item that's going to take the longest first, and then fill in with the other items. I just changed the game for your meal prep right here if you're not already doing this. So I talk in Healthy Mama Meal Prep about mise en place, which is a French term that means everything in its place. This is like the chef's secret for getting meals on the table, or not getting meals, but getting dinners or whatever the chef is cooking in the kitchen on the table fast. And that means getting your ingredients set, ready to go before you cook. So that's the first thing you want to do when you're going to go start doing your prep. If you're batch cooking anything, you get the ingredients ready for the thing that's going to take the longest, whether it's a soup or a stew or something you're roasting in the oven. Prep those ingredients, okay, mise en place those ingredients, get that going. Get it on the stove. My kitchen's behind me, so that's why I'm pointing. Get the thing on the stove, get it in the Instant Pot, get it in the oven, do what you need to do to get the thing that takes the longest done, and then fill the rest in after that. Then you're not going to be waiting in the kitchen for that thing that is going to take an hour to simmer and you waited until last minute to do it. So yes, mise en place means get everything in its place before you start cooking, but I recommend mise en placing the thing that's going to take the longest and then going back and doing the rest of your mise en place. If you're doing ingredient prep, then you don't really have to worry about this so much. I mean, maybe you'll do something like, oftentimes I'll put shredded chicken in the Instant Pot. And that's what I did yesterday, actually. So I got that in first because it takes about 25 minutes and about 10 to pressurize. So it takes about 35 minutes total. So I went ahead and got that in, and then I did all my chopping and everything like that kind of in between. So that's what I do when I do. And I consider that ingredient prep because that's an ingredient that I'm putting in a couple different meals. So that worked really well for me. And then everything else was done after that. Then I got a soup on that ended up taking about the same amount of time, and everything took me about 55 minutes yesterday total was kind of how long everything took me. And that was a pretty big prep for me. I don't always prep that much. It really depends on how much time I have and how much support I need during the week. And that's what I hope you'll find too, is a routine where your prep can be really flexible week to week. It's just about you supporting you and finding what is actually going to help you create more ease and simplicity throughout your week through prep. So hack number 6, I already talked about a little bit, but that is the hack of mise en place, okay? When you are prepping, especially when you're just doing ingredient prep, you are basically mise en placing for your week. And if there is like one secret that restaurant chefs get, how restaurant chefs get meals, like how does your meal get on your on the table in like 10 to 15 minutes after you order it? It seems like magic wizardry, but it's not. It's because they get to the kitchen at like 1 or 2 p.m. to get your meal on your table at 6 o'clock. Yes, they're going to cook like your steak or whatever to order, but everything else is prepped ahead of time. And they're spending hours prepping everything ahead of time. That's why meals come together so fast. That's why I don't take any longer than 30 minutes to get dinners on the table for my family throughout the week. Usually it's less. More often than not, it's like 10 to 20 minutes to get meals on the table for my family because I work late most evenings because my husband and I split our days. He's an entrepreneur as well. So he works mornings and I homeschool and I work afternoons. That's just how we work. So I get home at like 6 o'clock most nights after having clients, doing live videos, recipe testing, whatever I'm doing for the day. And I'm tired and I don't want to spend hours in the kitchen. As much as I love cooking, that's not something I want to do. So having that mise en place ready to go means that even if I'm cooking that night, even if I haven't batched anything that night, even if I'm cooking that night, everything comes together fast because I'm just throwing things in a pan, sauteing, simmering, whatever I need to do, and it comes together in no time. Same thing goes for your prep. Getting the ingredients ready before you go ahead to cook them is going to save you so much time, whether you are prepping to cook dinners throughout the week. And I say dinners, but you can prep for any meal, but most people need the most help at dinner time. And the same thing goes like while you're prepping. So mise en placing before you cook, mise en place before you cook. Clearly, I don't speak very much French, but I do know that one, and it is my most used French phrase. Okay, hack number 7. This is a big deal too, and this is going to change things for you when you actually start meal prepping, and that is to start with a clean slate. Okay. Whenever I tell mamas this, they go, "You're telling me to do what before I start my prep? Prep is already going to take me time." Here's what I want you to do, and I promise you it's going to save you a ton of time because you need to do it anyway. I want you to clear out your sink, put everything in the dishwasher or wash the couple of dishes that are in there from breakfast and lunch, okay? Clean out your sink so you've got a place to put your dirty dishes. I want you to open up the fridge and throw away anything that's questionable and, clean out anything you need to so you have room to put your meal prep stuff. And I need you to clear off the counters of any spare diapers, Matchbox cars, papers, pens, all the things, because kitchens are kitchens. They're the heart of the home and they tend to be the dumping ground. But for your meal prep time, I want you to clear it all off, wipe down the counters, some Mrs. Meyer's lavender, clear it off. And so you have an actual space to prep that feels good and feels relaxing for you. When there is clutter around you, when you're elbowing dolls, and I'm not speaking from my own experience or anything, but when you're elbowing things to get them out of the way so you can just chop a carrot, that's not a pleasant meal prep experience. So actually making it so that prep is easy for you, so you have the actual space to prep, is going to be a game changer for you. So this is really huge, making sure you actually have the space in order to do the prep, in order to put the things in your fridge. You have containers clean so that you actually have something to put your meal prep in. No one wants to go and have to wash out containers in order to put your meal prep stuff in while you're in the middle of meal prep. Okay. So get those things ready ahead of time. Start with a clean slate. It's not going to take you a ton of time. You already have to do the dishes. You're already going to have to take the questionable stuff out of the fridge. And yeah, you're probably already going to have to, at some point, take the Matchbox cars and the papers out of the kitchen. So just do that ahead of time. Take a couple minutes. Just give yourself the gift of a couple minutes clearing out the kitchen and starting with a clean slate before you start your meal prep. Okay. Hack number 8. We're getting to it, mamas. I didn't want to take up a ton of your time today because I know that if you're here, it's because you're a busy mama or a busy woman. You're busy. You probably have a lot going on in your life. And I know we're not supposed to use the word busy. Okay. Your life is full and you probably need a little bit of help getting meals on the table. And so I don't want to be here for hours and hours going, okay, there's this thing you can do, and there's this thing you can do, and there's this thing you can do, and there's this thing you can do. If you want more details on this, you can go to the course and you can take it in little bite-sized 2 to 10-minute pieces. And I'll take you step by step through every single tiny thing. But here's what I want you to know. Meal prep does not have to be hard. It doesn't have to be burdensome. It doesn't have to be boring. It can add to your week and bring more ease and simplicity to your week. That is why I'm here. And that is why I'm so passionate about talking about meal prep. You do not need to become your own personal chef like I thought I had to. Once I actually found the routine of, oh my gosh, if I just prep some ingredients ahead of time and maybe a soup and maybe something for breakfast, my life is so much easier. That is the same thing that I want you to feel. I want you to feel like prep is adding to your life. It's making your mama life easier. It's taking the stress away. So hack number 8, okay? Make it fun. Meal prep shouldn't feel like a chore. It shouldn't feel like a burden. In the beginning, yeah. Is it a routine that you have to establish? Absolutely. Nothing that we do that matters comes easy. So it might not feel easy in the beginning. You are going to have to block out probably an hour every week to start meal prepping if you're not doing it already. But think about how much time that hour on the weekends or on a Monday, whatever it is going to save you throughout the week. It will help you make the time to actually do the things you love, to spend the time with the people you love, to do more than just feel like you're a slave to the kitchen. Because your family needs to get fed. You need to get fed. You might as well make it easy. And doing a little bit of prep ahead of time can really, really do that for you. So let's make meal prep fun. Let's put a candle on or put the diffuser on or something that smells good, okay? I want you to put some music on, or my favorite, pop a podcast in your ear. I save up my like juiciest podcasts, the ones I'm so excited to listen to, the ones I'm like, oh, I want to listen to this now. No. Save it for meal prep because it's just one more thing to look forward to when I'm going to get started with my meal prep. So usually I'll put on some sort of a candle. I've got the new Trader Joe's. There's one up there too. I've got the new like Trader Joe's seasonal candles right now, and they smell so good. And so I'll put one of those on, and I will either put music on or save up one of those podcasts and put them in my ears. I'll grab a kombucha, or if it's nighttime, grab a glass of wine. If you're a wine drinker, do something that's going to make it fun. That's going to make it feel special. That's going to make it feel like you're doing something for yourself and your family. Not like it's like, oh, I've got a meal prep. So many people go into meal prep looking at it as something to control their lives, to control their meals. And, for a long time, I looked at meal prep as like a dieting tool where I was like, okay, in order to in order to eat healthy, I have to prep everything ahead of time. That's not what I'm about, okay? I'm about balance, and meal prep certainly will help you eat in a way that's going to serve yourself and your family nutritionally as well, because when you have those foods on hand, it's a lot easier to eat them. But it doesn't need to be something that feels like a burden or feels like something where you are like trying to control everything you eat. If you are trying to do that, this probably isn't the right place for you because I'm really about balance and really just about helping you bring more ease and simplicity into living your healthy mama life. So I want you to make it fun. I don't want this to feel hard for you. I want you to know that it can be easy, and it has nothing to do with the fact that I have some kitchen skills. There are women who are nervous about starting to meal prep because they feel like they don't have a lot of kitchen skills. I will tell you that my mom, growing up, and she might be on, hey mom, if you're on, or she'll watch this later. My mom did not teach me a lot of cooking skills or kitchen skills because she didn't have them. She grew up with a mom who cooked very simple meals and didn't have a lot of kitchen skills herself. So she had nothing really to pass on. So I didn't have a lot of cooking skills. And yes, I went to culinary school and I learned the skills myself. But you guys, my mom now knows how to do all of these skills I'm sharing with you guys. She knows how to meal prep. She knows how to get simple meals on the table. And it's not just because she uses my recipes. It's because she's just learned some of the simple techniques that I've taught her to get meals on the table. And she still won't use the type of peeler I tell her to use, but that's okay. I still love her. But you guys, and by the way, the peeler's $5. It's nothing fancy. It's not like it's this like crazy like Rolls Royce of peelers. It's a $5 peeler you can get off of Amazon. If you want to know, ask me in the comments and I'll share the link for it. But you don't need a ton of skills. Okay. And you don't need some sort of crazy routine in order to meal prep in a way that's really going to help serve your family and make it feel just easier and lighter throughout the week. And that's why I'm here. And that's why I want to share all of this with you guys. So, all right. Do we have any questions? Sometimes it's hard for me to see questions over here just on the new Facebook Live. Facebook, I love you. I'm working on it. I'm trying to, let's see. Okay. trying to see if we've got any questions. I'm just going to go ahead and keep going. If you guys have questions, you can ask them, or if I don't catch them, like sometimes I don't, please feel free to ask them after, and I will be on after to answer your questions. I'll be on Facebook to answer your questions, so I will for sure answer any of your questions if I miss them, just because I can't see them. But I want to take a couple minutes, okay? And I want to talk to you guys about Healthy Mama Meal Prep because I mentioned it a couple times. And Healthy Mama Meal Prep is my best-selling meal prep course, okay? I created it 3 years ago. And what it does is it teaches you how to meal prep in a way that fits your unique family. Because just like with nutrition, there is no one-size-fits-all meal prep like I've been talking about. So what I do is I teach you exactly how to meal plan and meal prep with efficiency and less stress. You can add more ease just to your life and more time to your week. And that's what I think meal prep should be all about, right? It's about adding more time to your week and taking the stress away from cooking because cooking really doesn't need to be stressful. So I created this course 3 years ago and I recently completely revamped the entire course, like re-recorded every single video, added 3 new full meal prep sessions. So you guys can see exactly how to meal prep, ingredient prep, combination prep, batch cooking with meal prep plans for each one. So you actually see, okay, this is how I laid it all out. These are the recipes I used. This is how I did it. And then I also added an entire module on cooking basics for the mamas who are like, I can't do this because I don't have the cooking skills. Anyone can cook. It is just about learning the very simple skills to learn how to chop right, how to chop an onion, how to chop herbs, how to steam, how to saute, the different cooking methods. So if you don't know the difference between like a wet cooking method or a moist cooking method and a dry cooking method, I'm going to teach you that. I'll teach you how to season your food, how to choose what actually makes food taste good, how to put together seasonings, different elements of flavor. I go through all of those things because I don't ever want you to feel like you can't prep ahead or you can't cook food that is nourishing and also tastes good because you don't have the skills. It really is a lot more simple than you might think, and you do not need to go to culinary school. I've been teaching cooking classes for a decade now. You do not need to have a culinary degree in order to cook really well, in order to have knife skills, in order to put together meals that are really simple but really, really delicious, and I'm very excited to teach you that. There's also 20 plus cooking demos in there as well, and a cookbook with over 100 easy, family-friendly, real food recipes. There are a ton of gluten-free options. Actually, everything is gluten-free, and if it's not gluten-free, there's a gluten-free option. I have a lot of family members who are gluten-free, so I serve all of my gluten-free ladies or guys or everyone really well. There's a lot of dairy-free options, a lot of vegetarian options, and then there's options for everyone. Okay, so what do I teach? Okay, I teach the 3 types of meal prep, just like I talked about, but in much more detail. Okay, there's a lesson for each one of them, so you'll learn exactly how to do each type of meal prep so you can experiment and find what works for you. I teach you how to plan without stress because meal planning can feel really stressful. So I teach you how to plan without stress and how to plan your prep with ease so that your prep comes together that much quicker. I mentioned one of my hacks is just do a little bit of planning ahead of time. Plan your prep so that your prep is easier. It's really, really important to plan your prep so your prep is easier. So I'll teach you how to do that. I'll teach you how to get through the grocery store faster, how to prep in the right order for efficiency, what to do if you only have an hour or less in order to prep. Like I said, don't panic, prioritize. And then I teach you cooking basics. So you can learn how to create really delicious meals really fast, which is important too, right? Because that's part of meal prep. We're like, okay, I want to learn how to meal prep, but I don't want to do it for hours and hours. So who is it for? Okay, it's for you if you're here and you want to learn meal prep hacks, but it's for you if you've tried to plan and or prep and it just hasn't worked for you in the past. It's probably because you haven't found a style that works for you. It's for you if you just feel like you're having a hard time getting dinner on the table without calling for takeout or eating frozen pizza all the time. I'm for both of those things, but I want this to happen a little bit less kind of thing. It's for you if you want to eat well, if you want to eat nourishing foods, but you feel like you don't have the time, or the only time you eat well is when you're on a diet and you're just over that because you're over the on again, off again diet cycle. Me too. Okay. You want to learn a new way to prep with efficiency because when you've prepped before, it's just taken up too much of your time and you quit. It's also for you if you need some new kitchen skills and new recipes just to mix it up so that you can actually get dinners on the table and you're not like eating the same thing over and over and over again, because that's all that kind of works for your family. I have a lot of women say, yeah, all that sounds really good, but I don't have time to do a whole course. Like, I'm already busy. You're telling me this is for busy women. I don't have any time for this. Listen, the way I created the course was so that you can jump around to any of the things that you actually need. It is meant for you, no matter where you are, to start where you're at and just go from there. You can start at module 1 and go all the way through module 6. The videos are anywhere from 2 to 10 minutes. And for all except the kitchen basics, the cooking basics, they all have audio options too. And there's a free mobile app. So you can go ahead and listen to that on the go. So when you're in the car, in the pickup line, doing laundry, or actually doing your meal prep, you can listen to them on the go as well. That's something new that I added when I revamped it. Was I've heard from women, they're like, well, the videos are hard to watch because I'm always on the go. I'm like, right, we got an audio option. Cooking basics, in order to learn knife skills, you can't just listen, you got to watch. But other than that, and those videos are like 5 to 10 minutes. They're not super long. But they will help you. I promise you that. They will definitely help you. So there's all of that, right? So this is totally something you can do in your time, and you have lifetime access as long as the internet exists. If the internet disappears, I can't do anything about it. But as long as the internet exists, you have lifetime access. So you'll definitely be able to do it in whatever time you need to in order to start prepping. And each lesson is designed to give you at least one tool to move forward with as you learn how to meal prep in a way that works for you. So you're going to get a new tool every single time you listen to a lesson. So it's not like, oh, I've only listened to 2 lessons and I've learned nothing. They build on each other, but you're going to have a new skill each lesson that you learn as you start going through it. And like I mentioned, I feel like the cookbook itself, my assistant is like the most incredible human. And she also spent hours and hours and hours. I can't even tell you. Like, she spent like 10 hours one weekend redoing this cookbook for you guys so that it's an interactive PDF. So you open up the PDF, there's the table of contents for each section, everything from kitchen basics all the way through, main courses, snacks, soups, salads, all of these things. Okay. You can click the recipe you want and jump right to it. It's also printable. So if you want to print it, and you're totally welcome to take it to Staples or a printer or whatever and print it out too if you want to. I give you the ability to do that as well if you'd like to do that. And it's all formatted for that too if you do want to print it out, or you can just keep it on your computer or your iPad and just click through. It's super easy. She spent so much time. It is beautiful. The cookbook in and of itself is incredible. And if you're like, yeah, I just want the cookbook, then just go get the cookbook. It's included with the course. You can get it separately as well if you want to, but the cookbook is going to help you learn how to meal prep in a way that's efficient just in and of itself. There's a little guide at the beginning of the cookbook that teaches you the main principles of meal prep. It obviously doesn't go into as much detail as the course, but the cookbook in and of itself has over 100 recipes, and it's really, really incredible. And I'm proud of it because of the recipes, but I'm like just as proud of my assistant for making it incredible. So go Ramsay. So for those of you who are like, oh my gosh, this is what I needed. This is what I need in order to bring more ease and simplicity to my life, to take the stress away from getting dinner on the table or breakfast or lunch or whatever meal you're like, I just can't do it. I'm just constantly going for takeout, or I'm just not eating anything at all for breakfast. And I know that like eating breakfast would help me feel more energized and feel good on a regular basis, and my kids too. And we want to eat something other than cereal every single day. And there's nothing wrong with cereal, but like we want to eat something else, and we really want to I want to nourish myself and my family well, and I want to learn how to do this meal prep thing without it taking hours and hours. Then let's do it, mama. Head to healthymamakris.com. So it's Chris with a K, KRIS.com/meal prep. And I promise you, after meal prepping for 8 years, even after working as a personal chef and going like, that style doesn't work for me unless I can one day afford a personal chef, that would be great. But that style doesn't work for me. I need to find a style that works for me. And hey, guess what? There's more than one style that works for other people. I can tell you it's worked for me. It has worked for hundreds of other women who've taken Healthy Mama Meal Prep and who I've worked with as one-on-one clients, who I've come into their homes. I used to do in-person cooking classes before this whole thing that's going on in the world is happening. I know that this works, and I know that this can help you bring more ease and simplicity to your life, to your meals, help you live that healthy mama life you want to live without the stress. Okay, so let's take the stress away. Let's take an hour on the weekend. Let's learn how to meal prep in a way that works for you and your family. So head to healthymamakris.com/meal prep and listen. I'm here. I'm here for questions. Okay. I'm here right now for questions. I still can't see any, so there might not be any, or I might just not be seeing them. So I apologize. However, I'm here on the Healthy Mama Kris page. It's just me on Facebook, on the Healthy Mama Kris page, answering your questions. So if you have a question, come reach out. Send me a message. I want to help you. I am here because I know what a change this has made in my own life and in the women that I've worked with. And I want to help you feel like planning and prepping and getting dinner on the table doesn't have to be hard, and it can actually be a really joyful experience. Maybe not every single minute of prepping. It's, I'm not always like, yay, I'm shopping carrots. You guys, I used to work at this really cool vegan soup distributor. I guess they created and distributed these really delicious vegan soups I worked there for like a year, I want to say. And we would peel like pounds and pounds and pounds of carrots every single day. And I got so sick of carrots after that, and onions. Oh my goodness. We would have to peel them, and then we'd like put them in the big Roboku, which is like a giant food processor, and like chop it all up and put them in this big vat. It was very cool. It was one of my cooler jobs that I've had. That's just a random aside that I did. That's not the type of meal prep I want you to do. But there's not joy in every single moment of chopping every single carrot, but there can be joy in bringing food to your family, putting meals on the table, and feeling good on a regular basis. And I know that meal prep can really help you with that. So I'm really, really excited to get you into Healthy Mama Meal Prep, to have you start to meal prep in a way that works for your family, that is efficient and effective. And by effective, I mean it actually helps you bring more ease and simplicity. It doesn't just feel like something else you're adding to your schedule, to your calendar. I would never want you to add just one extra thing to your calendar, because ain't nobody got time for that. We've all lived, I know I'm not supposed to say the B word, but we all live busy lives. We do. And I want this to take the stress out of your busy life, not add more to it. Okay, Mama, that's it. Are you so jazzed about learning to meal prep in a way that works for your family? I hope so. Head to healthymamakris.com/meal prep and use that code PREP20 to get 20% off throughout the rest of the month. You will also get my 100+ recipe cookbook included with the course. You can also buy it as a standalone product if you would just like the cookbook. It's got a little bit of a guide at the beginning that gives you the basics of the 3 different styles of meal prep, some of my best little meal prep hacks that I shared with you guys today, and plus over 100 recipes with a ton of gluten-free options. Actually, most of them are gluten-free. There's a couple with gluten-free options, but everything else is gluten-free. There's a ton of dairy-free options, plant-based options, pretty much an option for everyone in your family and in your life. So I know that you are going to love all of the recipes. But recipes aside, it will give you the tools to bring more ease and simplicity into your life through meal prepping in a way that works for you and your family. No more one size fits all in any area, Mama. All right, I hope you enjoyed this. I'm going to sign off for today, and I'll catch you again on Monday. Thank you so much for listening to this episode of the Healthy Balanced Mama podcast. If you loved it, would you take a screenshot and share it with a friend over on Instagram and tag me in it? It helps me so much to know what you love and are taking away from each episode. If you really loved it, would you hop over to iTunes and give me a star rating and review? Every rating and review helps this podcast be seen and heard by more women who need to hear the message of balance and wellness without deprivation. It's the best free gift you could give me. And as a reminder, the information and opinions on this podcast are meant for education and inspiration only and are not to be taken as medical advice, diagnosis, or treatment. Please consult with a trusted practitioner before making any changes. Have a beautiful day, friend, and I'll see you in the next episode.